Here's something nobody talks about. Single mother households have tripled since 1960. But high-value men are avoiding these relationships more than ever. Why? The numbers tell a story that makes people uncomfortable. Dating apps show high-earning men swipe left on single mothers at rates of 73%. Meanwhile, those same men swipe right on childless women at 46% higher rates. This isn't about judging anyone. It's about cold, hard data. Today, you're getting 3 research-backed reasons that explain exactly what's happening. We'll cover the money side, the complicated family stuff, and the deeper psychology at work. These are uncomfortable truths, but they're backed by real studies, not opinions. The data comes from relationship success rates, evolutionary psychology research, and economic impact studies. No feel-good fluff here, just facts that explain behavioral patterns most people ignore. Ready for some honesty? Let's dive into what the research actually shows. The financial reality. Your money, someone else's kids. Let's talk money first, because money matters, whether we want to admit it or not. The USDA says raising one kid costs $233,610 until they turn 18. When you date a single mom, you might end up paying for kids that aren't yours. That's the raw truth. But here's where it gets interesting. Your brain is doing math you don't even realize. Male brains evolved to invest resources in their own genetic line. Studies show men actually get stressed when they think about spending big money on kids who aren't biologically theirs. Think about it. Would you rather invest in your future kids or someone else's? The numbers are brutal. When men enter relationships with single mothers, their spending money drops by 30 to 50% immediately. And get this, child support from biological dads averages only $430 per month. 40% of single moms get nothing at all. So guess who picks up the tab? Your retirement savings? Gone to school supplies. Your investment money? Redirected to soccer cleats and piano lessons? That business idea you had? Put on hold for family expenses. Let's get specific. You're looking at an average of $15,000 per year, per child in direct expenses. That's before emergencies, before college, before the teenage years when everything costs twice as much. Meanwhile, your childless friends are buying rental properties, starting businesses, building wealth. You're buying Pokemon cards and paying for orthodontists. The National Center for Health Statistics found something telling. Men in blended families report way more money stress than men without stepkids. It's not just about the cash, it's about spending your resources without getting the evolutionary payoff. Here's what really hurts. Opportunity cost. Every dollar you spend on another man's kids is a dollar not invested in your own future. Your brain keeps track of this math even when you try to ignore it. Want more uncomfortable data? Men dating single mothers delay buying homes by 3 to 5 years compared to childless relationships. They save less for retirement. They take on more debt. Why? Because kids are expensive. And emergencies happen. Medical bills, school trips, broken phones. It never ends. This creates what researchers call financial timeline compression. Your wealth building gets pushed back indefinitely. That's not opinion. That's documented fact. Look, this isn't about being selfish. Evolution programmed male brains to calculate resource investment against genetic returns. These calculations happen whether you're conscious of them or not. Understanding this psychology explains why successful men often choose relationships that align with their evolved instincts, not relationships that work against them. Co-parenting. Complexity. Welcome to the triangle. Money is just the beginning. Now let's talk about something even more complicated. The three-way relationship you didn't sign up for. When you date a single mom, you're not just dating her. You're entering a permanent triangle that includes her ex. Present or absent, that man is always in your relationship. The American Psychological Association found that relationship satisfaction drops significantly when you have to navigate blended family dynamics. Want to know why? You're never really in control of your own household. Think about this scenario. You want to plan a weekend getaway. But wait, is it dad's custody weekend? You want to set household rules. But hold on. What did the divorce agreement say about discipline? Every decision becomes a committee meeting. You can't even ground a kid without checking the custody agreement first. Studies show this authority confusion leads to relationship conflict in 73% of blended families within 2 years. That's not a coincidence. Picture this. You're trying to teach responsibility by taking away video games, but the custody agreement says dad gets to decide on electronics during his weekends. Your discipline gets undermined before it even starts. Or this. You want to take the family on vacation to Florida, but custody exchanges are every other weekend, and you can't plan around someone else's calendar. Your spontaneity? Dead. Decision-making becomes a nightmare. Simple choices like vacation timing or daily routines require coordination with another adult who has legal rights in your home. Men report feeling like they need permission to make decisions in their own house. How does that feel as a man? Like you're a guest in your own life? The stats on relationship success are revealing. Relationships involving active co-parenting show 42% lower success rates compared to relationships without third-party involvement. The constant negotiation exhausts the relationship. Here's another problem. Conflict resolution becomes a group project. Disagreements about the kids can't be solved between you and your partner alone. They often require input from someone who might not care about your relationship's success. Research shows men get specifically stressed when their parenting instincts conflict with existing custody arrangements. You want to protect and provide for kids in your household, but your hands are tied by legal agreements you had no part in creating. Time management? Forget about it. Custody schedules dictate your relationship timing. Your vacation plans operate on someone else's schedule, not your preferences. And when the biological parents start fighting, you become collateral damage. Your household stability depends on the emotional control of people outside your influence. The psychology here is clear. Men in co-parenting situations feel responsible for outcomes they can't fully control. They invest energy and resources in family stability while having limited power to ensure that stability actually happens. This isn't just complexity. It's a fundamental shift in relationship structure that many high-value men choose to avoid entirely. The X factor, another man in your relationship. Co-parenting complexity leads to an even deeper issue: permanent male competition. This isn't about jealousy over past relationships. This is about ongoing, active competition for attention and authority. Evolutionary psychology is clear here. Male mammals have evolved stress responses to ongoing competition for mates and resources. When you're with a single mother, you're dealing with another man who has legitimate claims to her time, attention, and decision-making input. The stress is measurable. Studies using cortisol testing show men in relationships with single mothers have elevated stress hormones during high ex-partner contact periods. Phone calls about custody, text messages about school events, face-to-face interactions. All of this triggers competitive stress that doesn't exist in other relationships. Your territorial instincts are constantly activated. The biological father has permanent access to your partner's attention through shared parenting responsibilities. This access can't be eliminated through normal relationship growth. Think about what this means practically. Your partner's time, emotional energy, and mental resources are permanently divided between your relationship needs and co-parenting obligations. Men report feeling like they're competing for priority in their own relationships. That goes against everything evolution taught male brains about pair bonding. Here's what this looks like in real life. You're having dinner together when her phone buzzes. It's her ex asking about soccer practice schedules. Your romantic moment interrupted by logistics with another man. You're in bed, trying to connect when she starts stressing about the custody exchange tomorrow. Her mental energy is split between you and managing her ex-husband's emotions. Studies on jealousy patterns reveal specific triggers in these situations. Men experience jealousy not just about romantic history, but about ongoing emotional intimacy required for effective co-parenting. The biological father maintains legitimate reasons to contact, meet, and coordinate with your partner. Every text message, every phone call, every face-to-face handoff at custody exchanges. It's ongoing contact that you can't eliminate, can't control, and can't avoid. The data shows relationships where ex-partners remain highly involved in daily decisions have 37% higher breakup rates. The constant navigation of another man's preferences and opinions drains relationship resources over time. The competitive psychology gets worse when the biological father is successful or attractive. Research shows men experience heightened stress when they perceive ongoing competition from high-status ex-partners. The comparison becomes unavoidable when that man remains actively involved in family decisions and social interactions. School events, sports activities, family celebrations, they all require coordination that often includes the biological father's presence. Men report feeling like guests at events in their own family's life. This extends to social situations. Men dating single mothers often navigate dynamics where the biological father is known, liked, or integrated into friend groups. This creates ongoing social competition that simply doesn't exist in other relationship structures. Research on relationship security shows men in these dynamics report lower confidence in relationship permanence. Knowing another man has permanent legal and emotional connections to your partner creates ongoing uncertainty about relationship stability. The psychology is straightforward. High-value men often choose relationship structures that eliminate ongoing male competition rather than manage it indefinitely. Responsibility without authority, the impossible position. Here's where it gets really frustrating. You're expected to take responsibility for children's well-being while having almost no authority to make decisions affecting outcomes. The National Step Family Resource Center found that stepfathers provide an average of 67% of household financial support for stepchildren, but they have legal decision-making authority in only 32% of major choices affecting those children's lives. This is what psychologists call the stepfather paradox. You invest time, energy, emotions, and money into children's development while being excluded from crucial decisions about education, healthcare, discipline, and life direction. Imagine this scenario. You pay for a child's sports equipment, attend games, and provide transportation, but you can't decide which sports they play or whether they continue participating. These limitations create ongoing frustration that contradicts male psychology around problem-solving and protection. Here's another one. You're funding a teenager's car insurance and gas money. But when they get in trouble at school, you can't access their records or speak to administrators. You're paying the bills but excluded from the decisions. Or this. You want to teach financial responsibility by giving them an allowance with chores attached, but the biological father disagrees with your approach and undermines it during his custody time. Your parenting strategy gets sabotaged every other weekend. Research on step-parent satisfaction reveals the impact. Men in stepfather roles report significantly lower relationship satisfaction compared to biological fathers, even when relationship quality with their partners is the same. The satisfaction decrease correlates directly with the gap between responsibility and authority levels. The psychological burden intensifies when you care deeply about children's outcomes but can't influence key factors. You might watch a stepchild make poor academic or social choices while being unable to implement consequences or changes that could improve the situation. This powerlessness goes against male psychology around problem-solving and protective instincts. Legal limitations create additional stress. Stepfathers typically can't make emergency medical decisions, sign school documents, or access academic records without biological parent permission. You're expected to provide support and care while being legally excluded from parental rights. Studies show stepfathers often become primary disciplinarians in daily household management while having no authority over major disciplinary decisions. This creates inconsistency that undermines both your effectiveness and the children's respect for your authority. The financial investment without decision-making authority becomes particularly frustrating around major expenses. You might fund a child's education, extracurricular activities, or special needs while having no input into educational choices, activity selection, or spending priorities. That goes against male psychology around financial responsibility and control. Research indicates stepfathers experience higher rates of depression and anxiety compared to biological fathers, even when controlling for relationship satisfaction. The psychological stress of responsibility without authority creates chronic tension affecting mental health over time. The Step Family Foundation shows step families have a 65% divorce rate, significantly higher than first marriages. The responsibility authority paradox contributes substantially to these relationship failures. This explains why high-value men often choose relationship structures that align responsibility with authority rather than creating ongoing psychological tension through mismatched expectations. The attachment dilemma: loving kids you might lose. The responsibility authority problem leads to the deepest psychological challenge: the attachment dilemma. You want to bond with children in your household, but your risk assessment system calculates the potential emotional cost if the relationship ends. Male attachment psychology operates on evolved mechanisms that calculate investment risk against potential returns. Research shows men have developed specific attachment patterns that protect against resource loss and emotional trauma. Here's the core conflict. You naturally want to bond with children in your household. You often develop genuine care and affection for stepchildren, but you simultaneously know these relationships have no legal protection or guaranteed continuity. Picture this. You spend 5 years teaching a stepchild to ride bikes, helping with homework, attending school plays. You develop a real father-child bond. Then, the relationship with their mom ends, and suddenly you're a stranger with no rights to see that child again. It happens to 87% of stepfathers. Complete cutoff, no phone calls, no visits, no graduation ceremonies. Studies on step-parent-child bonding reveal this tension. Men report developing strong attachments while remaining aware that bonding investments could be completely lost. This vulnerability affects attachment, willingness, and depth. The statistics matter here. When relationships involving stepchildren end, men lose contact with those children in 87% of cases, according to the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers. Complete severance of developed emotional bonds creates trauma many men choose to avoid entirely. Think about the psychology here. You know getting attached might mean eventual heartbreak, so you hold back. You care, but with limits. The children sense this distance, which affects their attachment to you, which creates family tension, which undermines the relationship. It's a psychological catch-22 that many men solve by avoiding the situation entirely. Evolutionary psychology explains this attachment caution as adaptive behavior. Male mammals who invested heavily in non-biological offspring without guarantees of continued access would have been at evolutionary disadvantages. Modern men inherit these psychological mechanisms that promote caution around emotional investment. The bonding process becomes psychologically complex. You want to care for children in your household, but must constantly manage awareness that your emotional investment has no permanent security. This creates what researchers call guarded attachment that affects both step-parent-child relationship quality and overall family dynamics. Long-term emotional costs compound the dilemma. Men who have experienced step-parent relationship dissolution report grief patterns, similar to losing biological children but without social support systems that recognize step-parent loss as legitimate trauma. This isolation intensifies the emotional impact and affects future relationship choices. Understanding this attachment psychology explains why many high-value men choose relationship structures that eliminate the risk of developing emotional bonds that could be arbitrarily severed. The bottom line: psychology meets reality. So there's the complete picture. 3 core factors drive male behavior: economic burden without genetic investment returns, co-parenting complexity that eliminates relationship autonomy, and attachment risks without permanence guarantees. These aren't moral judgments about single mothers or men who avoid these dynamics. They're psychological and economic realities backed by research data. Here's what this means practically. If you're a single mother, understanding these psychology patterns helps you recognize why certain men might hesitate. It's not personal rejection, it's evolutionary programming meeting modern circumstances. If you're a man considering these relationships, awareness of these factors allows you to make informed choices rather than hoping psychology will change to fit your situation. Individual situations vary, but the patterns remain consistent across demographics and income levels. Wealthy men and working-class men show similar behavioral patterns. Age doesn't eliminate these psychological factors. Education doesn't override evolutionary programming. The successful exceptions usually involve scenarios where the biological father is completely absent. Authority structures are clear, and financial arrangements are explicitly defined up front, but these represent statistical outliers, not the norm. If you're navigating these dynamics, honest self-assessment matters more than social expectations. Understanding these psychological realities helps everyone make informed decisions rather than hoping evolved psychology will simply disappear. Here's your action step. Apply this framework to your own situation this week. Are you making relationship choices based on social pressure or psychological reality? The data doesn't lie, but the choice of what to do with it is yours. Comment below and let me know your thoughts on these findings.